Hi there, Nasifa here from Intentional Living, and welcome to another episode of Intentional Relationships with my partner here, Omega. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. So, Omega, what are we speaking about today?
Today we are going to be speaking about how to create a spiritual plan for your relationship.
What do you even mean? What does that mean?
Okay, I'm going to break it down a little bit. So one of the important things, like when you're a guy and you're in a relationship and you really want to take the relationship like forward, is you have to first of all lead. And one of the things that you have to lead is creating a spiritual plan for the relationship. So that's things like what sort of spiritual rituals do you guys do? What sort of beliefs do you guys have? Like, you have to communicate about your beliefs. Obviously, you're not going to tell your girl, hey, this is what you should believe. But instead, both of you are going to share, like, what are your beliefs? And over time, actually develop joint beliefs. I know you and I had, like, sort of different beliefs about certain aspects when it comes to spirituality. Even religious-wise, we had certain types of differences. But over the years, we've actually been able to develop beliefs that are pretty much the same. We have like basically the same spiritual beliefs, and that's because we've worked together. And this is, I have to emphasize this. In the beginning, I did say guys have to lead, but yeah, as a guy, you have to lead the conversation. But it's very, very important that you work with your partner. It's not like you telling her, hey, this is what we do here in this household. But instead, it's both of you actually building together. It's just that as a guy, you're probably going to have to start the conversation. That's if you want something like that within your home. And most women, from what I've experienced, actually love the sort of spiritual side of things. And so I think that's important. So how did we get going with the spiritual plan? Initially, we didn't necessarily have something written down. We didn't have something written down. It was more of, I just probed her about her spiritual beliefs and her spiritual identity, and what sort of practices does she do. Like, does she meditate? Does she pray? Does she read the Bible? Does she read the Quran? Does she read like any sort of religious text? What other sort of spiritual things does she do? Like, for example, we both black, we both Zulu. So the idea I'd have to ask is, hey, at home, do you guys do any like Zulu traditional spiritual things? So that way, like, we're sort of on the same page about, are those going to clash with like who we are or who we are individually? And so we sort of went through that sort of conversation, because it can get very complex in Africa, it can get very complex in Africa. And like, one of the reasons I love Africa is because of how spiritually diverse we are as people. And so when we come together, we sort of sometimes have to hash things out. And one of the things that will arise is obviously how certain spiritual beliefs are believed to clash with one another. And so we had to go through that process of figuring out, do we have any clashing fundamental beliefs? And luckily for us, it turned out we didn't. We actually had a lot of common beliefs, just, describing them differently. So what would you say about our spiritual life right now? Like, where is it right now?
Spiritually, I think we are working at it every day, and that's the thing with like spirituality and any sort of growth that one cultivates either on their own or with a partner. It's always a work in progress. Of course, from where we started 4 years ago to where we are now, it has really shifted and transcended, and also made us grow more intimate. But it's sort of like a next level sort of thing. There's never ever
We have
done it.
We don't have a
it's
destination.
Perfect. There's no destination. So but it's taught me a lot. It's taught me a lot, and one of the biggest sort of gifts I've gotten from our relationship is that spiritual growth, and that emphasizing and making it the focal point of each of our own lives has really helped me discover who I am and what I want in life as a purpose, and who I am as a person, and my values, definitely. And that did not come through as something that we planned, like you said. It was something that grew organically, but along the line we've really zoned into it because both of us found it so important to have that as a foundation for our lives. So for me, it has really been something really I cherish for until the day I probably I
Yeah,
would cherish it.
yeah.
So with that being said, what do we do on a regular basis to cultivate this spirituality, and what do we actually mean spirituality? You did say it's in an African context. There's a lot of things involved. It is the religious
spiritual
sort of beliefs that you have about God. What does even God mean to you? What is the sort of practices that you do on a day-to-day basis? Ancestors involved? Where does the sort of spiritual outside of being African come in? Do you even embrace that? What is that to us anyway? So it's a lot of unraveling of just threads on this little thing that we are calling life. But on a day-to-day basis, we've formed our own routines that are not really religion specific or specific sort of culture or sort of practice. It's a lot of things that we find important to ourselves that we've woven together to create our own personal routines and rituals that we frame our lives around and find sort of meaning and purpose and structure in doing for ourselves as individuals and as a couple. And one of those things would be
well, I can mention a few, like I can list a few, but like the most daily thing that happens between us is we pray every night before we sleep, whether we're on the phone or together physically. We do our best to literally pray daily. So that's something that's pretty cool. One of the other things that we definitely do is individually we meditate. She meditates like quite a lot. I also meditate at least for 20 minutes a day. I know that she does like multiple 30-minute meditations. So yeah, she likes that. And then obviously we read quite a lot of spiritual content, and we watch a lot of spiritual content videos on YouTube, and obviously books that we read and other apps that we have. But the gist of it really, as a couple, what's important is for you guys to have the conversation of what is spirituality to us. Like, I'm not going to tell you what spirituality is. I think as a couple, it's very important for them, like for you, to actually discuss what is spirituality and what sort of routines would we like to have and what would we like to actually experience in terms of our spiritual dimension. One of the nice things about you and I is that we very much are people who are open-minded and are willing to explore. We have certain principles that we hold dear, but we are not closed-minded at all when it comes to spiritual matters. And so that gives us the ability to always be able to introduce something. Like if I think of something or Nosipho thinks of something, it's very easy for us to say, hey, this is something that I found. Do you want to like try it? And we sort of discuss it and see where does it sit with our, like the way like we feel spiritually, where does it sit? And is it a practice that we can incorporate into our lives? And so that's definitely something I'd say couples have to work on. It adds so much depth to your relationship if you work on your spiritual side of things. And just to inspire the guys a little bit more, it adds so much depth to your relationship. Like I'm trying to say something without getting demonetized on YouTube. It adds so much depth to your relationship. I'm winking there underneath the glasses. I'll repeat. It adds so much depth into your relationship. Okay, so definitely develop a spiritual side. It's one of those key things that will really develop your relationship quite a lot.
And not compromise really. And I think like if I were to just a bit just step out of the relationship context, there is a lot of identity issues and identity crises happening in individuals in this day and age, in our age group, in people younger than us, in older people as well, because of this thing of not knowing who they are at the core spiritually. There is a spiritual seeking that we are really trying to go back to knowing ourselves in a context of spirituality, but we're not really tapping into it because we don't know how to get there. And the things that we've been believed and we've been told that get us there no longer work for us, and they no longer have that close connection to us. So by having somebody close to you that you're on the journey with, to maybe strip back of what you've been told, what you have believed, what spirituality is, what God is, what religion is, and really ask the questions to yourself and have your partner reflect and be a mirror in terms of your own introspection of what it is that you believe in. That creates that sort of learning, a deep sort of going back into yourself to actually create the answers you want for yourself of who you are. What does God mean to you? What do you make of good and evil? What do you make of injustices in the world? All of that now comes back to really shape your story according to your own lens, and not what society tells you, not what your preacher tells you, not what your congregation tells you, or what people in your family have told you about ancestors, but you create your own sort of story around these things. And that's what is the biggest gift that our relationship has given me, like I said in the beginning, to know that yes, there's things that I've believed, and there's ways that I've done things spiritually that were good and for me and for the time that I was in the stage I was in my life. But now I have the option to either let them go because they no longer serve me, and take on new sort of perspectives, or take on new sort of ways of looking at it that are now empowering me to be the best version that I can be right now, with the sort of trajectory that I want to have in my life. And they're empowering me and helping me shape that vision of myself that I see myself in the future as. So that's the biggest sort of takeaway that this relationship has given me in terms of the cultural, the spiritual sort of growth that I've gotten here.
No, that's perfect, and I'm glad you've actually gone through that experience. It's been quite beautiful to actually watch like the growth and the development of you individually and us as a team. But I think that's the time that we have for today. I hope, guys, that you develop a lovely spiritual plan for yourselves and you just work continuously on yourself. One of the things that me and Nosipho really care about is to see couples work on themselves and develop and grow, and of course individuals work on themselves and develop and grow. I of course do something called Money Mondays, where I literally just focus on investing and finance, and for me that's all about just watching people develop and grow, because we can all win, we can all be just the most amazing versions of ourselves. But until then, is this goodbye, or do you want to say anything?
What do I want to say? Yes, I think the last point would be to work, to not be afraid to do the work, even if you don't know the answers or what the questions that you're asking about in terms of your spiritual sort of routines. Perhaps you might be starting with, okay, I hear you guys talking and it sounds really nice and freaky. You guys have got it figured out now. But in case of somebody or a couple that's really starting from the bare bottom, where do we start? What would be the starting point? I would say just ask the question, and along the line the answer would come up. Just intentionally and wholeheartedly invest yourself in asking yourself the hard questions of what it is that you believe in and why you believe that, and that will catapult into different things being open up to you in terms of information, in terms of things that you hear, in terms of experiences that you hear, and insights that you get from within yourself that tell you how to go about enhancing your journey and shedding some light as to how it is that you are supposed to be spiritually within yourself. So yeah, that is my 2 cents. See you next time. Thank you so much for joining us, and hope you subscribe and like and comment below. Bye bye.